Snaking its way through the countryside of Southern Virginia, this beautiful 3.2-mile strip of asphalt has been around since 1957. But now, for the second time in 3 years, the Virginia International Raceway is home to the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. We are at beautiful Virginia International Raceway for the 59th running of the SCCA Runoffs. Our broadcast brought to you by Mazda. My name's John Phippen. I'll be giving you the play-by-play. Seated alongside me is Larry Lefty McLeod as we are working our way through to our next race, and this one is for Prototype 1. These are the fastest cars here at the Runoffs this weekend, and looking forward to 9 of them getting it done. As we're going to go right to the track map, as Larry will ask you to take us around this 3.7-mile 17-turn circuit.
Yeah, they're going to be a couple of cars wide going into one, downhill into that treacherous braking zone. Come out of one, it's all twisty stuff through there. Lots of downforce in these prototype cars. Going to come in handy around NASCAR Bend turn 3, left hook turn 4, and then they'll make that roundabout turn into the snake 5 and 6. Then they'll be flying. These guys will be 100 and something plus going up 7, 8, 9 through the climbing S's. And you watch how fast these things will go around South Bend, that turn 10. These guys will easily be triple digits around there. They'll have to get it woed down to go around the very slow and treacherous oak tree, and I'm hearing there may be a couple of drizzle drops hanging down there, but if they could do it right, we'll be seeing probably 150 some plus miles an hour down the back straight, maybe 170 even, all the way to the top of the hill to the roller coaster. They'll go running down that hill and around the hog pen, down again to the front straight for more horsepower on display.
Lots of horsepower, lots of aero. For years, the Formula Atlantics were usually the fastest car in SCCA club racing, but it wasn't too many years ago that these Prototype 1s, which a lot of people basically took a Formula Atlantic car and put closed wheel bodywork on it.
Yeah.
And basically he generated even more aero so that they became the quickest cars in competition, and that's the case here. The pole lap by Todd Slusher, a 1:41.6. In fact, the top 3 better than the lap record that was set here 3 years ago in 2019.
That is a crazy track lap time there at a 1:41. Just blowing everything you could imagine out of the water with that. To give you an idea where we were just a couple of years ago, we were out here, the P1 time was a 42.6 in qualifying. So now official track records, of course, are actual race laps, but to be able to drop a second on the qualifying lap is amazing. I don't know that we're going to see the race laps as quick because they had done a couple of years ago a race lap of a 43.4. It was Todd Slusher that did it back then, also who's our Polesitter today. We'll get to him in a minute. But whether or not they'll be able to do that here with a bit of a colder track, a little bit of a mist hanging in the air. I suspect these guys will be on dry tires, but it's going to be treacherous tires for the first couple laps.
You can see on your camera there just a little maintenance work on the tire barrier. That's down at Hogpen turn, as we had one car in a previous race go off and make contact with that bundle of tires. So obviously in the interest of safety, we'll take just a moment to get them repositioned, and then we'll get this race back underway. As we'll introduce our starting grid for you. Again, we have 9 cars on the grid for Prototype 1. And there's a lot of Elan DP02s in this field. It's definitely the chassis of choice right now. But we've also got a Store and, of course, Jason Miller in his win first. Let's get a little pre-race activity from our third member of our broadcast team. Hayward Wagner is down on the grid.
Afternoon, guys. We've not really talked about the weather much this weekend, so I thought we might try that now. It is dry on the track, but we still kind of have what I would like to think of as an oatmeal condition in the sky, very lumpy, low-lying clouds, and we keep hearing reports when drivers come in at the end of races that oak tree, that end of the course, is getting damp, staying damp. So it's just kind of been a fine mist all day. And I imagine these guys were super aero-dependent, generally speaking, run really soft tires. The changes in course conditions here could be really challenging for them. We were not able to make it up to grid, so I don't know what tire everybody's on, but I've got to assume these temperatures, it's the softest thing they can find.
Most likely the case. Yes, thanks, Hayward. You're absolutely right. Looking for the soft tires to go with all of the aero and all of the horsepower these cars have.
It'll be a mixture, I think, of some Goodyears and some Hoosiers in there. Some of the drivers are contracted to those, so it may depend on which one just happens to be the tire of the day. I don't suspect we'd see anything rain because it's really nothing more than, as Hayward said, just a bit of a mist hanging in the air. You can kind of actually see it on the camera there, just a couple of umbrellas out, but you can see just a little bit of that. It's really just like a heavy mist that just keeps wanting to come down. And if it's at worst at one end of the track down there at the Oak Tree, and not so much down at the other end, at the north end, where the pits are, where the false grid is, it may give you a false sense of security of how the conditions are until these drivers get down there on their opening lap and suddenly their visors on these open top cars suddenly get full of water droplets. They'll know pretty quickly that this is not going to be a fully dry race.
Yeah, exactly right. And coming into South Bend,
Oh.
what a beauty! If you have never been here, this is a beautiful racetrack. What a great venue. It's a track that everybody loves. There's ample pit area. It's a great spot for the runoffs. And
look at the view from those villas. They get to look. I've been lucky enough to get out on one of those this week to get a view down the climbing S's all the way back, and you can look across. You can see the back straight. Absolutely gorgeous.
Exactly right. So you could be the lucky owner of one of those villas if you would like. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful racetrack. The hospitality we've had from the whole crew, Kerrigan and his whole crew, and Connie Nyholm, who's responsible for bringing this track almost back from the dead, for want of a better term.
If you haven't seen the video of the car driving the track before they had done the recovery, it's shocking.
Yeah.
What it was to where it is now. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. Connie and her partners have put this place back as a first-class race facility, and it's not only for the racing. As we said, you can see the lovely villas. They've got skeet shooting. They've got a target range. They've got off-road experiences. It's surrounded by this beautiful hillside down in southern Virginia. We're right on the North Carolina border, not South Carolina. We're right on the North Carolina border. In fact, as you leave the track, you briefly go into North Carolina on your way up to Danville, where the hotels are.
Yeah. It literally is right there on that border. It's not much in the short vicinity, but not too far from some other cities to come visit. So if you're thinking about what do you want to do next year, late September, early October, we might be right back here in the Virginia, Carolina area. So if you want to come back and join the runoffs, it's a great venue. It really is sort of a bucket list opportunity.
Absolutely, and as you can see, these beautiful shots from our Apex camera crew here, the greenery, and we're far enough south that we haven't begun to see fall color yet, even though it is October. By the way, happy October, everybody. It's the first of the month. As the car is finally making their way out, and you see the smoke from Jason Miller's car, do not be concerned. That is normal. It is a two-stroke. Talk about that in just a bit.
Love that car.
You betcha. Let's talk about our starting grid. Alone in row number 5 is the number 26 of John Dunches out of Naples, Florida, in the Florida region. He's in one of a whole bunch of Milan DPO2 Mazdas in the field. Outside of row 4 is car number 9, Greg Case out of Peoria, Illinois, and the Central Illinois region. He's in a Store Suzuki. As we move forward into row number 4 on the inside is the number 3 of Jason Miller. That's the car showing a little puff of smoke. He's out of Plymouth, Wisconsin in the Milwaukee region. He is a second-generation racer. His father, Jeff, is a multiple national champion, and they both are affiliated with the Kohler Company. And those are Kohler two-stroke engines in the back of their Windfirst chassis. They've always called them that. So it's got a Kohler two-stroke power plant in it. And it makes a beautiful noise.
Glorious, as they say.
Yes, indeed it does. So that's a very unusual car in this field. John McAleer, will start outside of row number 3 in the 88 car out of Roswell, Georgia, in the Atlanta region. He's in another Elan. One of Sports Car's picks to finish on the box was last year's champion, Lee Alexander, in the number 48 out of Springfield, Tennessee, in the Tennessee region. He is a 2-time and defending champion of the class in his store with Kawasaki power plant. The top 4 are all Elan DPO2 Mazdas. Starting in the 4th spot is the number 19 of Todd Vanacore out of Ormond Beach, Florida, in the Central Florida region. Alongside him is Chip Romer. We saw Chip earlier today, who had tough luck in a Formula Atlantic incident on the very first race. of his weekend in the 29 car out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, in the San Francisco region. Stella Artois, his sponsor. Then we move up into row number 1, another pick by Sports Car to be on the box, Jim Devenport in the 23 car out of Alamo, California, and the San Francisco region. He is a 2-time champion, most recently in 2018, and the man who won here in 2019, the last time that, and the only time prior to this year, that the Runoffs have visited VIR, the 62 of Todd Slusher out of Las Vegas, in his Elan DPO2 Mazda. We have one driver who is eligible for the super sweep that can win it with a win, and that is Chip Romer. If Chip Romer, who starts third, is able to get to the front, he doesn't need any help. That is all he would need to win the super sweep, and no one has won the super sweep yet. And we're about 2/3 of the way through the running of the 59th running of the Runoffs. Two other drivers have a mathematical opportunity. Jim Devenport and Todd Vanacore can win the super sweep, but Chip Romer would have to be a DNF for that to happen. So if Romer gets to the end, they would not be able to make it happen. But if Chip Romer can find his way to the front,
well,
he could have his hands on
first thing he needed to do is to find his way to the bottle of Rain-X, because I might want that on his visor as much as he can, because it is now a rain. 20 minutes ago, I said this track's going to be dry, and even this side of the back straight looks dry. But if those other camera shots are any indication of what we're going to see, we have true mixed conditions. This is going to be fascinating. This is just a quarter mile later as they come down to the end of that back straight, and it looks dry.
Yeah.
But there is standing water at Oak Tree, and if they're all on slicks, Oak Tree is going to be treacherous. Might be the word of the day.
We are just getting word that they're going to do a second pace lap because of those changeable conditions. This, as they cross the line, the race time and the first lap will begin. So the second pace lap will count as the first of 15 laps. They'll see the green flag when they come by the following time. So they'll get one more chance to roll around behind the safety car so everybody can see where the damp spots are, and then we'll be ready to roll here. The races today are all 15 laps or 35 minutes. We've had to shorten the maximum time by 5 minutes for today's races because we had torrential rains and literally hurricane-like conditions here yesterday. And so we had to chop one of the races off the end of the day on Friday and added it to the card today. So we shortened the time limits, but with I think only one exception, we've still gotten all 15 laps in for the races today. So it hasn't affected the championship.
And I don't know, and a clock actually did start. So while we're still under the safety car for one more lap, I do see the clock is starting. So that does start to chip away. Now, of course, if they can go full speed around here, getting in 15 laps won't be an issue for them. But if it gets at all treacherous on dry tires, trying to find a braking point going into Oak Tree, oh boy, it could be very challenging for these drivers. So they're going to get an extra chance here to take a look at Oak Tree before we do go green. I'm sure these drivers all have spotters there, as they've got spotters, of course, in pit lane and probably even in 3. This is going to be a lot of fun. Mixed conditions make for a really fascinating race among these super high power, lots of downforce, technology equipped cars. Oh, this is going to be a whole lot of fun.
We mentioned Jason Miller. He's the one with the most starts in this class, as he raced alongside his father for many years.
Yep.
And 23 starts for Jason Miller. This will be his 24th start. And as you see that car going away from you, and we'll get a chance to see, there it is, the light blue.
6-cylinder two-stroke, 6 pipes coming out of the back of that.
It looks like a pipe organ coming out of the back of that car.
I love that. I've been able to watch the P1 races now a couple years in a row. It makes great sounds, but it's also hard to tune. They're constantly trying to retune that thing to get it to work with each day's conditions, to get the pipes up to the right temp. A couple things to note here is Todd Vanacore in this race. He has run FF already this weekend. So he'll be starting this race 4th. That race was wet on Friday morning, so he has seen this track in full wet conditions, knows what to where to drive and where not to drive. So that may be a bit of an advantage for him. Another one, I think, who else was there? There was a few others that have run some other things. I know, obviously, Chip Romer ran the Atlantic race. His race didn't last very long. They had dry conditions, so maybe not a lot to learn there for him. But right now, trying to mix between dry conditions at the north end to these, as you can see, these really wet conditions at the south end is going to be just a whole lot of gamesmanship for these drivers. How do you prepare for dry tires and what you clearly see is standing water under braking going into what's probably the most difficult braking zone in the entire track?
Even at safety car speed, they're kicking up spray, so you get just some idea of look how wet it is. as you know, this would
Yeah.
be you would want in this end of the track to have full wets on.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a dry track further up the road. So I'm
But
sure
if they
these
were to stop and put dries on, suddenly you're going to be awful in Sector 1, all
Yeah.
the way down from the start finish until you get up into the climbing S's. But then you're going to be happy for the one corner. So what they're going to do is they're just going to deal with it for the one corner, hopefully keep the car under them.
and
and
right
then,
there it's dry.
Yeah, by the time you get halfway down Madison Avenue, it goes dry again. So for these drivers, the issue then is your tires are going to be cold when you get to the top of the hill. And where can you brake? Who's got the guts to brake late on cold tires that have just dried themselves off?
Right. Oak Tree is at the southern end of this racetrack, as basically north-south runs the long
Practically
axis.
in North Carolina.
Yeah, right, runs the long axis of this racetrack. So as we are watching the 62 car of our pole sitter, Todd Slusher.
This should be green. This time we come down, so watch them pair up now. Official start of the race.
Last time we were here at VIR, he took the gold medal home. As the lights are out on the safety car, indicating we're about to go. The clock has started, and will be finishing lap 1 when they cross the finish line to see the green flag. They are not permitted to overtake until they cross the line. That's on restart.
Yep.
So the
Same
initial,
here. Yep,
yeah,
same here. Yeah, they just have to wait till the green cone and or the flag. The leader can go on the cone, which will be about halfway down this straight on the wall there between. You
yeah,
can
you
see
can
it
see
in the
it
shot.
right there at the corner of the
Yep,
shot.
so they can't accelerate to that point, but watch them go once they get there.
You
These things
bet.
are just lightning.
Yeah, these cars will go quickly, all normally aspirated and lots of horsepower. As we wait for
All the
acceleration
RPMs.
zone, all the RPMs, and this is one where you would like to be here in person just to hear the exhaust note of these cars, and they are away. Look at them jump as they are side by side. Slusher and Devenport making the run down to turn number 1. Devenport on the outside, Slusher on the inside. Devenport's going to try to stay with him, and then coming up from behind, Chip Romer right there as well. Everybody through turn 1 successfully. And our pole sitter, Todd Slusher, with the advantage. Jim Devenport slots into second, Romer in third. As they work their way through NASCAR and down into the left hook in turn 4.
Slusher was considerably faster than everybody else on nice, beautiful skies, dry conditions, and qualifying each day. As I mentioned earlier, down to the 41s in those conditions, but things are certainly different here. Everybody else behind him kind of hovering in the 42, 43 second if we were in ideal conditions. As he would love to have a bit of a margin now as he goes the first time up the climbing S's and then towards that south end. This is where the rain picks up. You can start to see all of a sudden there's everything wet. The spray is in the air. Anyone behind Slusher is going to have a whole lot of spray in their face.
Look at that. As you can see, these cars with all the aero that they generate, suck that air up from under the car and then kick it up in that big rooster tail
There's the
from
lockup.
behind.
There goes Slusher.
Yep, off right away as he waited way too long to put the brakes
Keep
on.
your eye to see if he's the only one, because again, there's the waving yellow. There's a spin. I didn't see which car that is that spun. There's another spin coming off of Oak Tree.
2 cars off already. Our pole sitter was one of them.
I think it might be Davenport, can't tell.
I think it is Davenport, but I didn't see the number. He and Chip Romer's car, similar livery.
And we are going to go full course yellow, it looks like, because I'm seeing that out.
Yeah, Slusher's
Yep.
car is pretty much buried. Yeah, there's the 29 of Romer's, so that must have been Davenport,
And that's McAleer in the 88.
who is in the lead right now. So John McAleer, I think, took over the top spot. Yes, he did. But the double yellow flags are out. The only question is, did he make that
Yeah,
overtake?
where was the pass?
Yeah, as Todd Slusher, I'm sure, kicking himself
Yeah.
as that car's buried into the tire barrier.
He's pretty far under that, actually, as these low-slung Elan prototype cars. Very low front end.
And that wing, of course, will be difficult to get the
Yeah.
car extricated from that gravel trap. There's, you can see the conveyor belt wrapped around the tires to keep them from falling apart. It helps to cushion the impact, and it's just enough for him to get mired there. There's no way you'd be able to back out of that under his own power, but the safety crew here doing a fantastic job already on the scene.
Let's catch
But
this replay
get
here.
a view of it.
Yeah, watch. You just watch him come into this. He gets in the brakes, and the front end just doesn't do anything. There's the lockup, trying to modulate the brakes, just nothing to do with it, and just right in.
Yeah, once you're on the grass, you're a passenger. I mean, there's absolutely nothing to be done.
And one of the other spinning cars that looks like was Davenport, Greg Case, also not yet come around to trim start finish.
While we have this just brief hold up to get our Polesitter extracted from the tire barrier, let's just take a quick break and acknowledge some of our partners that make this broadcast possible.
Focus, guys. We're in a race to the finish, okay?
Here's where the rubber meets the road.
These initiatives move the needle, like, at all?
Well, let's shift gears a minute.
We're really kind of at the apex here.
We need to put the pedal to the metal. We need to nail those hairpin turns, cross that finish line, and take that checkered flag. Woo!
Hit the track with the world's largest motorsports calendar, track day insurance, and more. Haggerty. Let's drive together.
Introducing the first ever Mazda CX-50.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
Welcome back to the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs from VIRginia International Raceway. And the reason we are under a full course yellow is that we, on the very first lap, our pole sitter, Todd Slusher, coming into a very damp section of the racetrack. Again, the track dry on about half of it and wet right up here at Oak Tree Bend. And the 23 car also going off of Jim Devenport. Those two drivers started on the front row and both off. And we've also got a problem for the number 9 car of Greg Case. As we see the 19 rolling around, that's Todd Vanacore. He's currently in 3rd spot as, again, the drivers coming around as the race started, coming off, as you can see, a perfectly dry racetrack at the north end. And as they came up the hill out of the climbing S's and in the approach to Oak Tree, it was anybody's guess just how much speed they could carry. And Slusher was the canary in the coal mine, basically, and he carried a little too much speed directly into the tire barrier he went, and a couple other cars spinning in that area.
Oh, interesting here as Romer pulls into the pits, and a few of these guys might be doing the same behind him. I wonder if he's thinking about a tire choice. Perhaps they've got a set of intermediates he might try, maybe a set of grooved slicks that he might be able to throw on, as we're going to do at least another lap here behind this car while they're still working on pulling out Slusher from that south end.
We saw at the runoffs at Indianapolis that that strategy can pay dividends. We saw a couple drivers, we had changeable weather there at last year's runoffs, came in under this very same circumstance, an early full course yellow, came in and took the gamble to put rain tires on and came out, and it paid dividends. So he won't lose a lap, most likely. If his crew's good, he'll be able to catch up to the back of the field.
And obviously cars like this are built for fast tire changes. If that's what they're doing, they should be able to get it done before the safety car gets around here, probably about 4 minutes maybe or so for him to get around a full lap. So we'll see. There they go. There's the One Motorsports team working on changing tires.
So we'll see if this gamble pays off. If it continues to be wet up at that end of the course, he'll be obviously much better than everybody else.
Maybe we get confirmation from Hayward down there, but I suspect these might be a set of grooved tires going on. And there's Slusher's car.
He's been quick all weekend, set a new track record, in qualifying for the class, and his race lasted about 5 corners. 10, actually, to be exact.
Yeah, didn't quite make it through 11.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, very interesting choice here by Romer, who we had seen in the Atlantic race. He was fast in there and hit just the smallest patch of water. So I'm sure not a surprise to see him being a bit conservative at the start of this race, but this move here is it's a little bit of a gamble. But if he can make it work and he can get any kind of a slingshot coming off of that, he could really pay dividends down the backstretch. And now that he can maybe hopefully catch up a little bit to that safety car.
Yep.
There he is going around 1 with those tires put on. Oh, this is going to be interesting now that we've got a bit more strategy happening. This isn't just everybody tiptoeing and dancing around down there. Now I got somebody who can actually maybe shed some water and have a shot to get in and get out of the Oak Tree Bend.
Yeah, the question will be, can he conserve his tires on the dry part of the racetrack?
Good to see these guys there in particular is the 9 of Case, the 23 of Davenport have rejoined the field, so their spins not the end of their day, so they're able to rejoin the race.
Yeah, so watch for Davenport. It's almost like an inversion of the field as he'll be at the back. Chip Romer also, who qualified in 3rd spot, will be starting from the back.
Davenport, 2-time winner in this class, 2017, 2018, so he knows how to get it done, even if he is at the back.
We're getting word from race control. They're going to do the same thing they did at the initial start. They're going to take 1 extra safety car, lap behind the safety car.
Good news there for Chip Romer.
Absolutely.
They still have another opportunity to maybe close some of this up so not be too far back. Technically still under yellow conditions, but is that him already right there?
That's him already right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think despite the pace that these cars are capable of, again, with the pole time, a 1:41.6, as we said in the run-up, these are the fastest cars here this weekend on dry track conditions.
Yeah.
We may run afoul of the 35-minute time limit. We're already 14 minutes
Look at
into
the
this race.
line right there where that pavement crossed. Down there just past the South Tower, you can see the line of the pavement where just south of it, it's damp, and just north of it, it is dead dry. The radar shows the same thing. Basically, this stuff dissipates right at the North Carolina-Virginia border, which is 100 yards south of that south corner. So clearly, this is just 2 distinct tracks right now.
The eye of the remnants of Hurricane Ian is about 50 miles to our west right now.
Yeah. So I'm getting word that he did go to full wets, actually, for Chip Romer. Those are not an intermediate by the looks of it.
Okay.
And every team looks like they have tires ready. So let's see. Let's see if anybody else pulls in to try and change tires.
Because they have been given the indication that they're going to go 1 more lap, so that same strategy could be played by any of these other teams. And so far,
Vanacore stay out.
Jason Miller stays out. Dunches stays out. I don't see anybody else making the gamble.
There we go. Is that Davenport?
I think it might be. It looks like the livery of his car. Or that's Romer coming back in to put dries back on.
It may be possible. We'll see what happens when they cross the timing stripe here.
Yes, it must be Davenport because Romer came across.
Romer's still back there. Yep, you can see that the nice glossy wine color there.
Yeah,
of Romer in the 29, and there is the 23 at Davenport.
Yep.
Again, 2-time winner in this class.
Greg Case did not come by either in the number 9 car.
We'll have to see which tires he ends up on. Is obviously a Goodyear driver. We'll see if these are grooved or full wets, if they even have anything ready. Sometimes these teams just don't bring a set of groove tires. Either they make them here or they just throw on the full wets.
Yeah, those look like
the wets.
Yeah, they look like full wets to me. They don't appear to be hand grooved anyway.
No.
They've got the gator back grooving, which is the sort of the standard wet weather tread pattern these days. So Jim Devenport, who started outside of the front row, qualified with a 42.5, almost a full second behind Todd Slusher's record-setting pole.
The full wets. So yeah, that is another set of full wets. So both Romer now and Davenport going out on full wets. Looks like he had a little bit of mist maybe coming down finally on the front straight as he leaves pit lane. A little bit of a puff of mist comes up. He'll have a chance to try these out at medium speed as the moisture builds going through those climbing S's. So very, very interesting here for Davenport and Romer to both be on the wets and everybody else on dries. I just remember one of the, I think it was Rubens Barrichello's first F1 victory was at Hockenheim back when they ran the old, giant loop out there.
Yep.
In the woods. It was pouring rain, but out there in the stadium section, bone dry, just like what we're seeing here. And it was a challenge that day between wet tires or dries. Kind of the same thing going on today.
I will remember the podium of that race for the rest of my life. The emotions that Rubens demonstrated taking his first win in Formula One competition.
That was the craziest weekend with a fan got on the track. You had the changing conditions, all while Rubens was just trying to get his first Formula One victory. Yeah, we might see some of that here, of course, with the action on the track between the wet and the dry. That looks like maybe it slowed down a little bit. Not nearly as much water down there as there was at the start of the race, but
interesting stuff. Let's see what happens here. As he will catch up to the back of the pack. So the two cars at the back as Chip Case appears, or Greg Case, excuse me, did not come by for lap 3. I'm not sure, well, whatever. We'll sort it out.
Romer shown in front of Case. That's a bit surprising to me because Romer had actually stopped. Might just be because of where he was on the timing stripe when they went on by, but it should be Case in front of Romer. But still, in an 8-car field, anything is possible. If there's an advantage to having those rain tires on, the problem's going to be is the section of the track they're coming up to now. Going down that roller coaster and going through Sector 1 on a set of rains, just not going to have the same grip.
Dry tire guys will be able to eat them up going down the roller coaster and through that twisty part, turn 1 and even the lower snake. But again, we don't know if this weather is going to continue to move south and wet more of the track, and that'll play into the hands of the two guys who stopped. Lights out on the safety car. We're finally going to get the start here. As the 88 in the lead, John McAleer out of Roswell, Georgia. Field. Again, he has to wait until that green cone before he begins to accelerate. The drivers behind may not overtake until they reach start finish. Jason Miller smoking away there in 3rd spot, and we're off. John McAleer putting his right foot down. And here comes the 19 of Todd Vanacore challenging on the inside, but McAleer will hang on. Jason Miller there in 3rd, followed by Lee Alexander in the 48.
Yeah, as Romer already able to jump in front of John Dunches as he and Devenport are going to try to work their way through.
Devenport has gotten around Romer in the early going here. As Devenport now going around Dunches.
As they're both trying to work their way around now the 48 of Lee Alexander. Which should put Romer Devenport now in 4th and 5th. Let's just watch how they come down around South Bend to see how much water is there, because I think the rain does start right about here as they start climbing the S's. This is now the advantage of having those tires with the grooves. Look at this, already in the back of the win first of Miller, and yeah, right around him like he's standing still.
Up to 3rd already is Jim Devenport, and now he's going for 2nd, as he has definitely got the advantage with those wet weather tires. Here he dives inside the 19 of Todd Vanacore. So up to 2nd place after half a lap, and he'll be able to get the power down much better than everybody else. Chip Romer is following him through. So I think they have made the right gamble at the early stage.
So far. But there's that line. You can see just south of it, it's wet. Just right about here, all that rain goes away, and it is bone dry.
And there are the two cars in 2nd and 3rd that stopped for rubber.
That's still Vanacore just behind Devenport. So Romer not able to quite take Vanacore. Vanacore's got a lot more red on the top of his car. You'll see him coming down with that number 19. But that is Devenport, 2-time champion in this class. But look already behind them as Devenport now chasing him down. But that is, there you go, there's Vanacore giving up the spot. Even despite having the rain tires on, Romer faster, even around Hog Pen. Those tires very soft. Probably a little bit extra grip here early in the stages. The problem will be is if those tires start to wear as the laps accumulate.
Devenport sets fast lap of the race on that first lap with a 2:03.7, considering that the dry track pole time was a 1:41.
Only 13 minutes left on the clock, though, and at their normal pace, I don't know they can do 7 laps. So we'll see what the timers say as we get going. But look at this already. Devenport really pushing McAleer.
John McAleer in the Elan, Devenport also in the Elan.
McAleer making his 6th start here at the Runoffs. Previously won in the top 5, including last year at Indy. He was in 5th spot in P1.
Timing and scoring is showing Davenport as a lap down to the rest of the field, and I don't believe that to be true. But
agreed, yes.
I think that's an anomaly.
Yep, we've had other races where there's been transponder issues. They'll get that all sorted out. What we know is this is a side-by-side move now for Davenport, getting down to the inside in the wet stuff.
And that is for the lead of this motor race.
And off he goes while McAleer does everything he can to put any power down. Chip Romer is going to have an advantage with his rain tires to try and keep up with McAleer. And somewhere in the mist, there are 3 cars.
Exactly right. McAleer doing a good job of hanging with him. Because now he's to the point where he has the advantage, or at least should have the advantage.
He should, but those tires get so cold going through that water. By the time they get up here, now he's just back on cold tires like he just drove out of the pits. He's basically heat cycling these tires 1 lap at a time. If he can get a little bit of heat in them, he can get a run off a hog pen, but you only get about 3 corners, whereas those rain tires tend to stay a little bit softer, a little bit longer.
There's Chip Romer running in 3rd by our reckoning. As they make their way across start finish.
Yeah, really fascinating to see how much heat McAleer can get in his tires. Try and make it. He was able to hold off Romer just a little bit longer. Well, Davenport seems to just be fast.
Remember, Davenport spun on the first lap. He may be a lap down.
He did spin.
I believe he is a lap down.
Wasn't sure if the field got by him. So you're right. It may be possible. And if he did, then maybe this is the battle for the lead between Romer and McAleer.
McAleer's still in the lead if that's the case. Davenport's at the tail end of the lead lap, if indeed he did go a lap down earlier. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt, because Davenport did indeed spin on that first lap, and he was off in the grass. So how much time he lost getting back on? We took a break during that period. Weren't able to follow it. So let's just go under the assumption that John McAleer is the leader, but here comes Chip Romer, who is in 2nd spot, did not lose a lap.
Has his rain tires on.
That's the battle for the lead right there.
Doesn't seem to have the straight line speed once he does get those things turning down the back straight as McAleer does. McAleer's not sure if McAleer running a little bit less downforce. Could be. They could have similar power plants. A lot of these guys are using the Mazda 2.5 liter, but there are other options for power plants among these, even though they look like similar chassis.
Yeah, we see Lee Alexander with the Kawasaki power plant in his car.
Yeah, those store chassis using more of the bike motors that both Greg Case and Lee Alexander have. The rest of these guys in the Elan Mazdas, but even among the Mazda, I think they could run the 2.3 at one weight, the 2.5 at another. I suspect they're all in the 2.5 here. But, these are prototypes, so you can try all sorts of things.
Yeah, exactly. You can even use a 2-stroke Kohler generator.
Cylinder 2-stroke if you want.
Exactly. As John McAleer holding his own here, and Chip Romer with the distinct advantage up in the damp part of the racetrack, but McAleer with the advantage in the dry parts. And right now, more of this track is dry than is wet. So let's see how that works out. We've got 9 minutes remaining. We are working race lap number 9 of the scheduled 15. So John McAleer.
Yeah, so they did confirm that Jim Devenport is down 1 lap. Very much like you had said, he did spin early, probably a little trouble getting going again, as he was pretty far in the grass at the exit of Oak Tree. So he's down a lap, but he's making it look like he's got the lead, even though he's about 3.1 miles behind. Romer, though, on those rain tires, not as fast through most of this track as McAleer.
Yeah, I would have expected him to have a much bigger advantage on the dry portions of the racetrack.
McAleer,
but perhaps he's conserving the tire, so he's got something in the
Maybe. McAleer about 1.5 seconds faster in the first sector. But even still, even for Romer here, have trouble getting the power down coming off of Oak Tree. We'll see what the second sectors look like. This should be the advantage for Romer, and it is about 2 seconds. So while 1.5 seconds swings one way, 2 seconds swings the other way, if McAleer is able to break even, he can hold this kind of a lead. And his tires will certainly last longer. but he'll have more difficulty having the mistake-free race. So when you're on a slick tire with a wet patch, very tough to maintain mistake-free driving. For Romer, a little bit more margin for error. He just has to keep the tires under him.
Yeah, and obviously if he can stay even within shouting distance, by the time they come out of that wet spot, assuming that it doesn't get wetter on this end of the racetrack, he'll definitely have the advantage because he should be able to use his advantage on the dry track to get back in front.
Yep, there's the 19 of Todd Vanacore, currently in third.
He's a distant third, some ways behind. We'll get the official intervals. He crosses the line, but he was about 4 seconds a lap slower than the two cars in front of him on the last lap. And he is 15 seconds behind.
He is, and he's got a charging Jason Miller behind him, who just was about a second and a half, almost 2 seconds a lap faster than Vanacore on the last time. Jason Miller's trap speed on the back straight now 151.9 miles an hour. Give you an idea, imagine coming off a wet corner on slicks, getting the car all ramped up to 151 miles an hour, and at some point having to hit the brakes to go down roller coaster down a blind crested corner on slicks that are probably right back to ambient temp. These guys are insane guts to be able to do that with these cars lap after lap.
What a great battle this is for the final step on the podium.
Miller's closing quickly.
He is indeed. If there has been an Achilles heel of this Kohler power plant, is it's been fragile.
Yeah.
Getting to the end of races has been the issue. It showed great speed, but
there's the one thing about that engine is it's very tough on vibrations.
Yeah.
So things tend to shake loose a little bit. The pipes tend to shake a little bit loose. Things crack. I know they've been working on that for a while, but you can see look at that lockup on the right front there for Jason coming in, able to keep it going. Look at the pipe organ out the back of that thing. As the lead's tightening up a little bit too, as it looks like Romer's closed up the gap just by a little bit, found about 1.5 seconds in the second sector alone on this lap. So let's see if this is enough to maybe stay with it. If he can start carrying some more speed down roller coaster, around Hog Pen, and start pushing McAleer.
Getting official, we won't get all the laps in, so we have 5 minutes and 45 seconds, just under, remaining in this one, so time will be the factor.
About maybe 3 laps at this pace that they're going now, as having just started a new lap.
John McAleer takes over the fast lap of the race. Jim Devenport held it for a few laps after the restart, but McAleer has just set the fast lap of the race. So he's showing, despite the wet track down at the south end, he's got the pace.
It's fascinating to watch this trade fast lap thing because McAleer only 0.2 of a second faster on that lap than Chip Romer. But if you look at sectors, it swings 2 seconds either way because of the tire choice. It's just wild to watch.
Yeah, exactly right. Davenport, I think, realizing that barring catastrophe, he doesn't have enough pace to get himself around and into medal contention. This is the third place battle. Jason Miller right there on Todd Vanacore.
On the much smaller car, and you can see it there, that Win First chassis, just much, much smaller than that Elan chassis in front of him.
Yeah, it's narrower, less frontal area.
Oh, and there's a pass in the
for
rain.
the lead.
So, yep, McAleer unable to keep the car in front of him. And that's a spinning 26 of Dunchus out in front of him across the track now coming off Oak Tree.
Yeah, we've got partial track blockage.
But it's
there.
side by side for the lead.
Here comes McAleer back at Chip Romer as they're into the dry section of the racetrack. And this is exactly the scenario we were wondering about. Does McAleer have the additional pace here to lead at the stripe? That's all that matters.
Oh, there's the bravery of the slick cold tire on the brakes at the top of the hill. McAleer getting it done to hold Romer behind him for yet another corner, but Romer closer than he's been.
Let's see about the run to the line from here. That'll tell the tale. Does Romer have the pace to get back by him by the time they get to the stripe?
And they'll have, looks like 2 more laps now at just under 4 minutes.
The answer to that is no. So Romer's going to have to be in front of McAleer on the run down to...
Or take it right now going into 1.
And drive away from him, but then he goes wide, and that opens the door for McAleer to go back around.
Those wets just don't have the grip when you load him up like that. He's trying to just use track position right now and keep his car in front of McAleer through this dry section of the track because he knows if he can, he's got the advantage when they get to Oak Tree.
But McAleer realizes that right now he's got the advantage through this twisty section at the Snake. And getting confirmation. We'll see the white next time by, and there goes McAleer.
Oh, side by side in prototypes through the climbing S's, nearly contact. McAleer's got the advantage, but now it's wet. This should now play in the hands of Romer, but now he can't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, and the rain has stopped, so it is drying. They're still kicking up some spray here, but McAleer able to hold his own with hot slicks.
This is where the pass was the last time, and look at the rain tires on the inside for Romer. He's trying to take the nice and tight and tidy line, force McAleer to try and put power down, but Romer runs a little wide, not able to get the power down. McAleer now with the advantage again. They'll go side by side, nearly pushes him off to the inside of the track.
Romer trying to take away the passing opportunity. Now let's see McAleer as he gets into the dry section, if he's going to be able to retake that advantage as he did on the last lap. But this time Romer has the advantage as they hit the braking zone for roller coaster.
But now it's turned the other way because he now has the wet tires on the dry pavement. McAleer should be faster and have an opportunity to go into one, just like Romer used on him a lap ago. Can Romer hold him back for one more lap?
White flag this time by, we're told. With about a minute and 40 seconds left.
Romer almost looks like he's opening it up, coming
Yeah,
down
he
Hog
does.
Pit. Got a really good run there. Now he knows he doesn't have to save the tires for anything.
Across the line they come. McAleer should be able to close up under braking, and this will be a portion of the racetrack where, in theory at least, he should have the advantage.
I wonder if his team told him, hey, this is now on a timed race. You've only got 1 or 2 laps to go. Burn those tires up. You don't have to save them now. Because he looks like he just laid the hammer down.
So we are on the final lap.
Yeah.
McAleer closing right up in this section where his car should have the advantage.
It's like he just cranked it up about a lap and a half ago as somebody must have said, hey, this one's going to be over quick. And look at him now. He's going to try and hold McAleer off. If he can stay in front of him, oh, it's going to be close.
McAleer already side by side. He tried to go to the inside just before the climbing S's a lap ago. This time he's not able to get it done. And I think this may be Chip Romer's race to lose here as they come up into Oak Tree.
Now he gets to put a bunch of spray on the visor of McAleer behind him for the first time today.
McAleer hunting for as much dry track as he can find. Doesn't go as wide, so he's got a little better opportunity to get the power down. But this will be his last opportunity to catch and pass Chip Romer on this final dry section of racetrack before they get to the checkered flag, which awaits. Chip Romer, I think, has played the strategy perfectly as they come to the top of the hill for the final run down the roller coaster.
Romer checking his mirrors to see how close does McAleer get. He's not there. He shouldn't be looking at mirrors now. He should be looking at apexes. One more trip down roller coaster in Hog Pen.
Don't hit that puddle that's caught so many drivers out. Yeah, the one they just passed. I think Chip Romer has gotten it done. He and his crew have played this to perfection. As John McAleer is going to make it honest, but there's the checkered flag for Chip Romer as he will take the win. John McAleer in second, and Jason Miller holding off Todd Vanacore.
Yeah, he's
for
able
third.
to get around him.
Yeah, Jason Miller coming to the flag, and another podium for him. Jason Miller with 3 top 3s, make that 4 as he'll take the bronze medal. Todd Vanacore coming home in the 5th spot. Jim Devenport, despite going a lap down, will end this race in 5th spot.
Great crew there for Romer to be able to make that call, throw the tires on while they had the opportunity, and for him to be able to save the tires just enough to make the pass there on the last lap or so and put a fight to McAleer. That was a lot of fun.
McAleer set the fast lap of the race on the last lap. I think had it gone one more lap, he might have had enough because Romer played his strategy just perfectly and burned those wet tires down just at the right spot. Great.
Not going to be many grooves left on those now after the end of this one, but
yeah,
what a fun race.
Yeah, you bet. I'd like to have seen it go the distance, but hey, we got 13 laps in of the 15.
And for Romer, the story might be redemption, as his prior race this weekend didn't end the way he wanted it to. This might be the result he was finally hoping to get.
Here are the unofficial results. Chip Romer, your winner. John McAleer coming home in second. Margin of victory about half a second. Jason Miller, well-deserved 3rd spot. Todd Vanacore comes home in 4th. Jim Devenport comes home in the 5th spot. Greg Case will take 6th place honors. John Duchess with a spin in the late stages finishes in 7th. Lee Alexander and Todd Slusher rounding out the 9 cars that started this race. So I'll be curious to hear the response of our podium finishers as they get down to visit Hayward Wagner down in the pit lane.
When I talked to Chip earlier today, he just seemed a bit on that nervous feeling of didn't know what the weather was going to bring. The car was still up on jacks. Both this and his Atlantic car were sitting there, wasn't quite sure what they were going to do, kept looking out the canopy saying, I don't know if it's going to rain, is it going to not? Turns out it does both, but the switch to the rain tires looks like the absolute right move for him. And maybe, here with Davenport, what would have been if he hadn't had a spin, because he looked like the fastest car out there for quite a bit of that race.
Yeah, exactly right. But there's your winner, Chip Romer. Again, a little redemption after his off in the Atlantic race earlier today. And John McAleer, who led much of this race after the cars in front of him had trouble or elected to come into the pits, and just came up a half a second short of notching his first gold medal. We'll wait for Chip to get his helmet off, but Hayward Wagner is standing by with our new national champion.
Chip Romer's getting the helmet off. Chip, have you ever in your life been a part of a race like that?
Never. I've never been in it. I was praying they would call it. It was treacherous out there. Hands off to this guy. He's the best rain driver I've ever seen.
So what tire did you start this race on?
Slicks.
A hard
Goodyear slicks and Goodyear reins. They worked awesome.
Well, congratulations to you on the national championship. What was it like driving the rest of the course on the rain tires?
A little treacherous. But yeah, Johnny had me almost 3/4 of it, and then just through that rain stuff, it was still just treacherous out there. Just hats off to him. I just couldn't catch the guy.
Well, congratulations on the championship. You get to take one more lap. Enjoy it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
So a very humble winner, as clearly he gives all the props to John McAleer, who stuck it out on the slicks the entire race, but that strategy call turned out to be the right one.
Yeah, McAleer drove a great race despite tiptoeing around there through the oak tree. That's never easy to do on a very high horsepower car on very wide slicks.
Exactly right. But Hayward Wagner is down there with our second and third place finishers.
Satisfaction or frustration with a second place finish?
Pretty frustrated. I think we won it, and we're going to protest, so we'll see where it comes out.
So you were on slicks for the full race. What did it feel like in the wet with the slicks?
It was like ice, and we've driven on ice before on slicks, so we had some experience with that. But it was crazy. Like half the track was not very good, and then the other half was wet, and it was just crazy. But you know what? I am happy with the second too. So, but I think we won it.
Well, congratulations on the podium either way, and we'll jump back here and see if we can get our third place finisher. Guys, I think that might be a reference to some defensive driving down the back straightaway on the next to last lap. We'll have to see how that pans out, but that's my guess. Jason, welcome back to the podium.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
How insane was this race from your perspective? We had a lot of camera shots of the guys at the front, but what was it like for you?
Very slippery in the back. And I knew that was going to be the case, so I kind of backed off and let it play out, and we're here.
And here we are. Well, congratulations on the bronze.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jason Miller summing it up pretty much succinctly that it was tough on that the damp section of the course. Let's take a quick look at the highlights.
These
of
highlights.
This
it looks great here, doesn't it? Nice overcast but dry day until they get to the other end.
After two pace laps, so that the drivers could see what the situation was down at the south end of the course. Todd Slusher, the Polesitter, leading just as you would expect, and until he got to Oak Tree in the wet and just didn't make it happen. There's John Devenport doing the same thing. Jim Devenport, doing the same thing. And then we had Chip Romer made the gamble to come in and go for slicks. This is what he was talking about the protest.
Yeah, you just watch this, a bit of a move over there. We'll see what the stewards think, but either way, he ended up seeing the checker first. Great race for both he and McAleer.
Yeah, I think McAleer thought he was denied an opportunity to make the run on that final lap, But hey, that'll be sorted afterwards. But you've got a lot more racing to come, so we certainly hope that you'll stay with us for the balance of the racing from the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. I'm John Phipp, and thanks to Larry McLeod and Hayward Wagner. Sorry, my brain went quiet for a moment, and we'll be back with you for the next one. See you down the road. Following the race, John McAleer was penalized and moved to 8th. Jason Miller was elevated to 2nd, and Todd Vanacore took 3rd in the final podium results. So your results are Chip Romer, your winner, Jason Miller in 2nd, Todd Vanacore on 3rd, Jim Devenport, Greg Case, John Dunchus in 6th, Lee Alexander, and John McAleer in 8th.